This is a Lord of the Rings podfic of Brothers by Solitary Bird, read for you by Solitary Bird. This fic is rated T for child abuse and implied reference to eating disorder. Faramir is bleeding. Boromir is going to make sure his wounds are treated and find out who hurt him. This fic was first posted the 25th of April to the 26th of May 2009 on fanfiction.net. For reference, in this fic, Boromir is 20 and Faramir is 15. Brother. Frantically he pulled his nearest clean tunic over his head, positioning it over the now sluggishly bleeding wounds on his back. He winced at the slight pressure, the weight of the material placed against them, pulling hurriedly, assuring himself that the blood could not be seen. He walked as fast as he could manage to the open door. The bathing room in which he had spent the quarter of an hour trying to staunch the throbbing wounds was shared between him and his older brother. Faramir hoped that the blood wouldn't seep through the hastily wrapped bandages that covered his mutilated back. He had started to feel dizzy and slightly nauseous. Collapsing would cause many awkward questions to be asked. Very awkward ones indeed. He called on the reserves of energy he had left to stop himself from falling. Boromir stood tiredly removing his armour, slightly inside the doorway to his chambers, his back to Faramir and the bathing room. "Hail, brother," Faramir called amusedly from across the hall. He was leaning slightly against the ancient white stone walls that made the city now, his strength waning. A rare smile broke across his face as Boromir jumped slightly, dropping his mail shirt upon the floor. It emitted a loud metallic thump as it hit the polished stone. Boromir was so much more to him than a brother. He was also his best friend and the only father figure he had ever known. When Faramir had been born, their mother had died. Never coming to terms with her death, his father had turned on him. Denethor couldn't even look at his newborn son, never mind raise him. Being the older brother and old enough to comprehend what had happened, Boromir had taken over, and Faramir could never repay him for this. "Fara?" Boromir questioned, concernedly looking deep into his eyes. Faramir blushed at being caught daydreaming yet again. Father was right. He would never become an Ithilien ranger. His brother chuckled deeply, pulling him close into a tight warrior's embrace. As his shirt and Boromir's arm made contact with his back, it was all he could do to keep himself from screaming out loud. Despite his efforts, he couldn't stop himself from making a strange, high-pitched moan of pain. This caused his brother to immediately let go of him. Staring at his face worriedly before looking over his body, he could never tell his brother what had happened. It would only prove that he was weak, too weak to ever make his father proud. Unfortunately, his brother took that exact moment to look down at his right hand to see, to his horror, it was covered in warm red blood. "Farah, what's happened?" Boromir struggled to get the words out, the shock of his baby brother being hurt impeding his thoughts. Looking up from his hand just in time to see Faramir sliding slowly down the wall, leaving a line of blood behind him till he reached the floor, where he lay senseless. An overwhelming feeling of panic filled him. Faramir at the very least was still breathing, but too shallowly to bring him any comfort. Boromir scooped him up in his strong arms, avoiding touching his back, where he presumed, due to the state of his tunic, all the blood was coming from. Pain. In his arms he felt so light and fragile. From this he knew that Faramir was once again not eating properly. Relapse. Elbereth. His baby brother would have him grey before his time. Not that he would regret grey hairs gained by loving and protecting his Faramir. Such a thing was a medal of honour. At breakneck speed he raced from their shared chambers down the spacious corridor and out of the citadel. The gates of the 7th level were flung open for him without question. Boromir was, after all, a captain of Gondor, respected by all the soldiers under his command, and the people at large. They were both sons of the steward, no matter how much indifference he showed to his youngest son. Blood runs thicker than water, they say, and Boromir hoped one day that his father would see Faramir as his child to treat with love. He only prayed that it wouldn't happen too late. In the distance, the healing houses stood gleaming white in the strong sunlight. "Hold on, brother," he shouted, almost hysterically, as his brother's breathing suddenly became even more laboured than before. Faramir's dark, red blood started to run freely down his arms and drip into the white marble of the city below him. We're nearly there. Shocked civilians moved quickly out of the way, staring at their hero and his beloved brother who lay crumpled in his arms. Worry. Healers rushed in and out of a room at the end of the imposing corridor, a room in which lay his critically ill baby brother. Boromir had known times like these would occur in the future, one of them waiting to see whether the other survived. After all, they were both sons of the steward and needed to do their duty to their country and its people. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that such events would happen so soon. Faramir was only 15 for Eru's sake. He had his entire life in front of him. He couldn't die. Not here, not now. Whoever has hurt you, Farah, will pay dearly for your pain, he swore, clenching and unclenching his fists in anger. Calming down a little, he proceeded to tap his foot against the floor for something to do. Would Denethor even bother to make an appearance this time? In defeat, he slumped forwards, resting his head against a marble pillar, carved thousands of years ago, after his ancestors had crossed the Western Sea. A long time had passed since the sinking of Numenor. Houses ticked by slowly, with only the healers running back and forward, some carrying bandages, others bloody towels and basins of steaming water. No one had even acknowledged his presence since he had laid poor Faramir on the makeshift bed. He did not know of his brother's condition. Was he walking the paths of the dead even as he sat there? My lord. Boromir looked up into the tired eyes of Ilorith, the healer, barely hoping that all would be well. The danger has passed. Young Faramir will see many a year yet. With the news of his brother's recovery from the brink of death, the tears he had been holding in till now broke loose. Thank you. Thank you so much. Understanding. Slowly, Boromir entered the healing room that housed his brother. He'd been informed that poor Faramir would be all right given time and love. It was dark in here, the only noise the ragged breathing and painful moans of his brother. One of the welts on his back was stitched close. His eyes strayed beyond his brother's face and caught a glimpse of the extent of the injuries. Mangled. Seconds ticked painfully by as the elder brother struggled to form a coherent sentence. How? Who? When? How could someone hurt his little Farah? It was entirely his fault. He'd failed the last request their mother had given him. Look after him, keep him safe. It seemed that it had happened so long ago, but yet so near. Mother. Faramir had barely known her, and when he became ill in the depths of the night, he would call for her. She could never answer. Their mother had passed beyond the circles of this world. Faramir blinked drowsily as the healer bound him up with fresh white linen bandages. The painkiller seemed to be wearing off now, and he could likely feel the painful throb of his wounds. All he would want to do was sleep. After the bandages had been secured, the healer wished them both a good day and hurried from the room. Faramir fidgeted. There was no way he would or could tell Boromir. Why would he believe him? How could he tell him of the years of abuse he had suffered under his own father? Farah, you know you can tell me anything. That's what brothers are for, Boromir whispered, trying to stop himself from crying. He was a soldier of Gondor. He would not cry. Sleepily, Faramir lifted his eyes to those of his brothers that shone with unshed tears. His resolve melted instantly. Father had me whipped. The end. Thank you for listening.